Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. It's freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. It's my contact information, standard YouTube copyright. And this is, I don't know how many times I've tried to record this. It's been a long weekend with a lot of work, etc. And the new career back in school has been very unforgiving. Keys to the reading. We do read astrology differently. I read what's called constellational astrology, sometimes called true sidereal. It's astrology by the visible sky. In ancient times, astrologers were astronomers. So I'm following what I believe to be the ancient tradition. Tropical astrologers fix the signs to seasons versus ancient astrologers looked up to the sky and just read the planets where they were. So you're going to hear me saying planets are in different constellations than what mainstream astrologers are saying. It's because we see the sky differently. I actually live out in the country, so I can actually see Jupiter and Taurus. I use the natural size of the constellations because Virgo in all her glory is around 48.5 degrees. And Aries, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, they're each less than 25. So all the constellations are different sizes. I let them be their natural sizes. I use astrological midpoints because, and I agree with Athan Shementi on this point. It's his system. He noticed when he was digging into the IAU boundaries that they took constellation or stars from one constellation and put it into the next constellation, which is kind of wrong. They really needed to draw those boundaries better. So he came up with his midpoint system. I like it. I think it feels more accurate to me. And I read 13 signs. Because if you do happen to go out sky gazing some night and you're looking at the end of Scorpio and looking for the beginning of Sagittarius, you're going to find this gap. And that gap is a fucus. It's the sign of the wounded healer. The symbol is of a man holding a snake by the head and the tail. That's the story that I know. And so what that symbolizes is the snake symbolized knowledge. Holding it by the head and the tail is control of knowledge. So it's using knowledge to heal yourself so you can heal others with similar wounds. That's what that is. This is the weekly edition. These are the universal lessons for everyone. So do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers. I read evolutionary astrology, which is that the constellations and the planets are offering lessons to learn, and that you have freedom of choice on how you're going to respond to those lessons. You're fated to you're fated to face the transits. You have freedom of choice in how you face those transits. My dates are based on the Eastern US time zone because I do live right outside Buffalo, New York. I'm limiting myself to within 1 degree of exactness because if I went farther than that, it would feel overwhelming for me. And if I'm overwhelmed, you're lost. So 1 degree keeps it manageable. And the software that I use is Capricorn by Prometheus. Here's our weekly transits. Sun is in Aquarius, so we're still in Aquarius season, looking for authenticity and individuality. The moon is steady, it'd be going from Sagittarius to Pisces. So Sagittarius and then Capricorn, Aquarius with the new moon in Aquarius, and then into Pisces. So a nice, steady, emotional week in that sense. And the new moon is the sun conjunct the moon, so spotlight on that, on your emotional self and your soul, and being authentic to it. Our active planet for the week is Mercury. Most of the transits this week, and all but one, as a matter of fact, of the new transits, all involve Mercury. And we do happen to have a sign change of Mercury entering Pisces. Did I mention Mercury was active? And the power transits, I was asked, what makes a power transit? Most transits are done in about 3 days. And so when I get a transit that goes 5 days or longer, I consider that to be a little bit more powerful and influential. So, for example, there's Neptune conjunct the North Node and Neptune opposite the South Node. When we look at those are going on for a month. So they're going to be long and influential transits. So those are my power transits. And finally, going retrograde, we have Venus moving retrograde this week. After a month of chocolate and roses, she needs a little bit of time to herself. And yes, Venus does govern relationships. Venus also governs creativity. So it's time of reflecting on your relationships and how you're acting in them, but also your creativity. And are you open to it? And so here we have our transits, and you can see here the long ones up there. But aside from this north node opposite the south node, you can see there's really Monday through Friday ish, or late Thursday to Friday ish. You get a nice breather on Friday, and then Saturday we get walloped. Friday, starting Friday night and into Saturday, we get walloped. So beginning of the week, nice, slow and steady. You take a deep breath on Friday, and then get ready because the weekend gets very, very busy. And again, you look up the moon here, you see nice and steady. Mercury changes sign by my calculations on Monday, full moon on Thursday, and Friday afternoon. Let me clear this out just to Friday evening. Venus goes retrograde, so it might not be the best time to go out. And if you want a nightlife, it might be a time to take a little bit of time off and just slow down. I don't need this tea. I need espresso shots. All right, so oops, let's close this out. And so older transit, this is finally coming to an end by the new calculations, March 2nd. Neptune conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So Neptune in Pisces is about being present and in the moment. I always jokingly say that in Stephen Forrest's books, he says when Neptune's in Pisces, don't just do something, sit there. It's very much about learning to be present. And the North Node is the evolutionary intention for your life. It's like a soul lesson that you came here to learn. The best way to understand the North Node is to understand where it is in your natal chart. So where is the North Node in your natal chart, and how can receiving inspiration help you to fulfill that lesson? And I think that receiving that inspiration and that higher perspective can help you fulfill that lesson even more. So there we go with that. I'm going to leave it at that. And the shadow here, because you can have a shadow response or a negative response to it. Pisces, Neptune and Pisces can be denial, illusion, escapism, and the North Node can be, ignoring your purpose, ignoring the reason why you're here, and trying to hide from it. So Neptune in Pisces conjunct the North Node in Pisces. Yeah, Neptune conjunct the North Node is denying your life's purpose, trying to hide from it, numbing yourself to it, or living a lie about it. I've already fulfilled it. I don't have to worry anything else more about it. There's your shadow. From the 18th, right after Valentine's Day there, Neptune in Pisces is opposite the South Node in Virgo. And no, I didn't get anything for Valentine's Day from any of my students, which is very unusual. Usually they give me something. But Neptune in Pisces opposite the South Node in Virgo. And we said Neptune in Pisces is being present. Opposition in this situation, I read as reflection, because the South Node is how you hold yourself back in life. And in Virgo, it's with perfectionism and unrealistic expectations. So this is being aware, literally being aware of in the moment how you hold yourself back in life with these unrealistic expectations, holding yourself to an unrealistic standard. So let's see. And so yeah. And so it's helping you to be able to reflect on that and be more aware of it, so that hey, when this happens, you know that you can choose a different response and change. And the shadow, we did say that Neptune in Pisces is about denial or escapism or fantasy. And the South Node in Virgo is just falling worse and repeating that perfectionist and those unrealistic expectations, thinking that if you just did it better or just did it right, things would be okay, or that perfectionism doesn't hold you back. It's actually a good thing. So it's living in hype or living a lie. So and so like the delusions and fantasies keep you caught in the past, repeating the same mistakes in different ways, or it can be denying that you even have a problem. So there we go with that. From Saturday, the moon enters Sagittarius. So over the weekend and early part of the week, you're seeking something new, something fun, something interesting. Yeah, Sagittarius likes fun. It's about emotional opportunity, really. And the shadow here, the moon is your mood, it's moodiness, and defending the status quo, not wanting to change and just keeping doing the same thing you've always done because that's the way it is. And that can leave you bored with life and with yourself, as a matter of fact. There. So, also from Saturday, Mars in Gemini. Mars goes station direct. So it does complete this on Monday. Mars is learning courage and assertiveness. And in Gemini, it's learning to be curious, being communicative, your willingness to learn. So it's having the courage to learn and communicate, So have the courage to be curious about your own interests or speak out or communicate in your own way, whether it's speaking or writing, but communicating it. And moving from reflection, retrograde, towards action, forward movement. And assertiveness can serve you well in defending your interests. So it's having the courage to stand up for what does interest you and what you are curious about. And the shadow, Mars falls into fear, whether that's anger and acting out or cowardice. And Gemini is like a chipmunk on espresso shots, unfocused and distracted, or just not wanting to learn at all. It can be the person who thinks they can't learn. So it either know it all, you're unfocused, or you can't learn. You feel like you can't learn, or you don't want to learn. So, and what motivates that? Fear, whether it's the anger or the cowardice. So falling into fear leads to inaction or being bossed around, or outbursts of anger, words that wound, whether they're spoken or written. Be very careful about that if you can. And on Monday into Tuesday, we have Mercury in Aquarius in a trine, which is an easy energy, to Mars in Gemini. And during this transit, Mercury is going to move into Pisces, I believe. So, have the courage to learn about and communicate your truths. What is true to you? What really royally interests you? And be open-minded about new information and open to new information that can come your way from unexpected sources. Breakthroughs can happen and lead to more insights, and have the courage to follow them. Like Alice in Wonderland, chase the rabbit down the rabbit hole. Who knows what adventures you'll find, or what new interests you'll find. Yeah. And then in the shadow here, Mercury, distracted. Can be the know-it-all or can't learn. And like we talked about, Mars and Gemini falling into fear and how that affects your ability to learn. So, and in a trine, this makes a big mess fast. It's the only way I can say it. So falling into fear, shutting down learning, leading to irrational outbursts that make no sense, or shutting down learning communication altogether. And also the fear of being ridiculed can lead to silence as well. And just another thing that just hits me, because Aquarius can act out to get a reaction. So this can be really acting out to get a reaction in anger or whatever, just to provoke people. Okay. And no, actually, Mercury doesn't go into Pisces on that one. It's this one. My apologies. Mercury in Aquarius, Pisces is conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So Mercury does start out in Aquarius on this one, and then as it transits Saturn, it will be fully in Pisces. So, and we talked about Mercury, but in Pisces, it's learning to be present. So in Aquarius, you're learning to follow your authentic interests. In Pisces, you're learning to be present and aware of what's going on around you and in that mental moment. And Saturn is having this self-discipline to pay attention, self-discipline to be where you are, self-discipline to learn your spiritual practices. So learning to be present and practice self-discipline can help you to see reality clearly and learn how to respond to your situations as they arrive. Mental self-discipline here. The Saturn, and people have get a dark image of Saturn. Saturn is, when you do the work, Saturn rewards you greatly. And I do mean greatly. However, when you don't do the work, Saturn does turn into the taskmaster. Who is it? Barry Lig, I heard him do a presentation to students, and he says, hard is easy and easy is hard. And that applies here. Any lesson to Saturn. When you do the work, the hard work up front, life will become easier. But when you don't do the work and get lazy about it, then life becomes hard. And that's a lesson here. Learning to have that mental discipline to be present and be with yourself. And we just had our cat commercial for this presentation. Hopefully that's Kit. She is a rescue. She is all white with blue eyes, and I've heard some people say that that makes her an albino, and some people say not. So, and that's an example of the shadow of Mercury and Saturn. Is that a nice example of me getting distracted by what just walked across my computer? So that distraction and unfocused and undisciplined response, that's the shadow of Mercury and Pisces. So being unfocused distracts you from what's really happening and drags you into situations that can have self-created failure and be very bad that way. Life can also become or appear restrictive or constricting, limiting your focus from possible to probable. Possible is so wide open, and probable is limited. So it's really limiting your possibilities. And this can lead to frustration or pessimism as well. So that could have, the shadow can have what we're going to call a darker result. And then we do have, again, by my calculations, Monday into Tuesday, Mercury enters Pisces during this transit. I wasn't going to erase Saturn from the slide just to make it, but yes, Mercury is right on the cusp there of Pisces. So, and Mercury, we said, is learning and communication. And in Pisces, you're opening yourself up to the higher realms. So be open to information and inspiration from higher realms or perspectives. Be curious about your own spirituality or insights or breakthroughs that can happen. And be open-minded enough to help you understand and communicate from different perspectives or higher perspectives. So having that higher sense of awareness can be very informative and very educational. And the shadow here, Mercury, distracted, can't learn for whatever reason, or it's a know-it-all. And then in Pisces, illusion and delusion and denial. So if you think you know it all, you're deluding yourself. If you think you can't learn, you're in denial. And ignoring your spirituality and refusing to learn about it is just outright denial. So running around in mental circles, be distracting, or endless talking or any form of communication can numb you to the insights and keep you distracted from what is right before you. And they say that I've heard said so many times from so many different traditions is that spirit is like that still small voice. Sometimes it does get very audible. And when it gets really audible, you should listen to it. But you can miss what spirit is trying to teach you. Tuesday, the moon enters Capricorn. So, and this is, we're approaching the new moon. So this is a waning cycle here. So release work that is not worthy of your time so you can accept the challenges that are. Self-discipline and commitment can help lead you to success. And we'll be transiting Pluto, so this is emotional transformation as well. And the shadow, the moon being moody and Capricorn, just can fall into this dark, time-serving, lonely, narrow-minded sense. It'd be very, very, I hate to say it, but the moon in Capricorn can get really dark. But issues with self-control or becoming a control freak over situations you can't control can leave you feeling frustrated and isolated as well. It is kind of chilly in here. Just Tuesday. Wednesday, hey, we got a Mercury transit. And this is a quick transit. Mercury transits are usually relatively quick. So this is a sextile or an excitement. And it's to Uranus in Taurus. So Mercury in Pisces, learning to be present in the moment and excited to learn about who you really are. and being at peace with that. So being aware of who you really are and learning to let go of what is not you, because again, this is another waning transit because Mercury is closing in on a conjunction. So this is a waning or releasing. So you're being present, being aware of the way you're acting, saying this isn't really me, and being able to let it go so that you can become more of who you really are. So learn to stay present, be at peace with who you really are. Opportunities bring interest and excitement. Opportunities can bring interest and excitement to you. Letting go of who you are not helps you to become more of who you really are, and then find the strength that lies within that. Yeah, when you become more of who you really are, it does bring you strength, and Taurus is peace as well. In the shadow here, Mercury is unfocused and distracted, falling for illusion, delusion, and hype. And Uranus can be, or Uranus, or however you want to pronounce it, its shadow gets interesting. You can be acting out to get a reaction from people or selling out to fit in. But either which way, if you're acting out to get a reaction, it's like the bull in the china shop. And if you're selling out to fit in, it's like that lazy bull that you can't motivate to do anything. And Mercury can be falling for that illusion. If people aren't going to pay attention to me, well, I'm just going to keep doing stuff until they do. And falling for the illusion that they're laughing with you when really they're laughing at you. And if you're selling out, the illusion is that you're fitting in when really everybody knows you're not. So focused, caught up in fantasy can have you being less of who you really are. I think that's less of who you really are and really losing your identity and losing the ability to learn who you are. And we do have the moon entering Aquarius late on Wednesday. And here you're learning to feel authentic and feel who you really are, and get in touch with your feelings as you're really feeling them. So let go of what's trying to control you and accept your emotional independence, and look for new truths from different sources. Be open to your emotional truths here, and learn to become aware of what your emotional truths are. And again, Aquarius acting up or selling out to fit in leaves you feeling phony and empty. And if Aquarius does sound similar to Uranus, it's because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, or co-ruler of Aquarius as well. So, yeah, the other one is Saturn. And Saturn, yeah. But there you go with that. And on Thursday, we do have the new moon in Aquarius. And did I write the time that happens? Yeah, this happens like not just after 9 o'clock at night. So this is going to be late at night. Unfortunately, nobody's going to be able to see it unless you're wearing like special glasses and stuff, and you have to be on the southern hemisphere. So this is just after sunrise for them. But the spotlight here is on authenticity and individuality. Sun is representing your core identity. The moon is your emotional self. And so this is really spotlighting on you learning to feel how you really feel. And what do my notes say here? Time to heal your authentic and individual identity and feeling. Look to your natal sun and moon to better understand what this means for you personally, because you're becoming authentic to that specific part of your identity. So for me, my natal sun is in Taurus, so I'm being authentic. I would be learning to be an authentic Taurus. And my moon, I believe, is in Leo, so I'd be learning to be an authentic Leo moon. That's a really interesting combination if you think about it. You can't get any more opposite, I don't think, even though they're not. But yeah, and spend quiet time focusing on what it means to be yourself can be helpful here. So taking time to pause can be very helpful. And the shadow, the sun can act up. Think about the star that burns too bright going supernova, or the star that won't shine at all, the infamous dark stars. So the star that's burning too bright, and the moon here is moody. Now, whether it's that acting out moody or that dark brooding moody that doesn't express itself, both of them together in Aquarius, the acting up and acting out and trying to get a reaction from people ick, or selling out and trying to fit in, or not expressing who you really are. Those are both the shadows there. So being someone you're not can lead to a sense of alienation on many levels. And that's a key word there, is alienation. If it's possible to feel disconnected from who you really are, living a life of empty emotions and feelings. Really, this is going through the motions. And between this and Friday evening is when we do get our breath. So Fridays, you feel the urge to take a breath and take a break. Do so, because starting Friday night, we have Venus in Pisces going retrograde. Hold on a second. I just had something drop. Okay, taken care of. So Venus is going to go retrograde, and retrograde means reflection. And a lot of people overreact about that, in my opinion. Retrograde just means it's a time of reflection. And remember, Venus does govern relationships, and it does deal with relationships. Venus also is about creativity. So focus on it. So do take time to reflect on your relationships, and how are you being present in your relationships? Are you being inspired by them? Are they inspiring for you? And also your creativity. How are you working with it? Be open. Are you being open and receptive to others? Are you being open and receptive to inspiration for your creativity as well? Pisces, learning to be present as well. I like to say, are you learning to be where you are at that moment with other people? Because too often, I do like to say, too often when we're with people, we're listening to them or being with them to learn to respond to them or react to what they're saying, rather than just being there and listening to them and just being with them. So learning to be present. So it's taking time to pause and reflect on who you are in your relationships and how you're being in your relationships, and also your creativity. And the shadow here can be denial or fantasy, thinking that you are the greatest friend in the world. Okay, maybe not. Or that you are this inspired and creative person. Look, I can take a sheet of white paper and a pencil and put a dot in the middle of it. It's really not being creative. Some modern art, I really don't understand. When you have a room and you crumple up a piece of paper and you drop it in the middle of the room, I don't under, and this is me, I don't understand art. I like classical art. Quite honestly, what's his name? Mark Chagall is interesting. I do like Van Gogh. He is really wild. You know, Renaissance art is interesting. I like the icons of Eastern Europe as well. Those are phenomenal. Okay, I'm off. I apologize. um, yeah, and Venus and its shadow can be slick or manipulative and deceptive, and falling into fantasy, or lazy and trying to control others as well. And so, yeah, or it can be looking to give its power away to others. So that's, and very much falling into illusion and delusion about your relationships and creativity, and being able to try to control others, thinking that you can control others, and really you can't. And also on Friday, the moon enters Pisces. So do be open to inspiration and insights, emotional inspiration and insights as well. Possible to receive fresh vision for yourself in your life at this time. However, in Pisces, it can be, you fall for illusion, delusion, and withdrawal, isolating yourself from the world. So withdrawing from the world or numbing yourself can lead to feelings of emptiness. And Saturday, life just goes a little crazy because we have tons, and I do mean tons of Mercury transit. So expect Saturday and into Sunday, even into Monday, mentally, verbally to be busy. We're going to begin with Mercury and Pisces opposite the South Node. So this is reflecting on your community, you're reflecting on learning communication, and are you trying to hold yourself up to unrealistic standards and unrealistic expectations? And it's asking you to be aware and present, and to see how you're responding to those types of situations. So be aware and reflect on the practices used to hold yourself back um, in with unrealistic expectations in your ability to learn and communicate, rather than what's the next step. You don't count from 1 to 10 and then learn how to do differential equations. There's step-by-step progress. So be careful of that. Knowing what's happening and making the mental changes can help you find new ways of learning and new ways of communicating. And that will help you improve better. And by being in that present moment. And the shadow, Mercury can just be distracted, living in a fantasy, be very idle and lazy. And the South Node is just keeping on repeating those old patterns, pushing yourself, trying to be better than it's possible at that moment, or thinking that it's those unrealistic expectations, perfectionism, and holding yourself up to them when nobody's going to meet them. So thinking you know it all or you can't change is an illusion and keep you caught up in old patterns and never changing. And you're living in an illusion of the past. That's literally what you're doing and trying to bring it into the present. Doesn't work. Mercury will also be conjunct the North Node in Pisces, and at the same time, it'll also be conjunct Neptune. So I will do my best to try to tie all this together. So this is also learning to be present with your life's purpose and being open and inspiration to new lessons and new ideas and how you can communicate them. So being aware of presence with purpose of your life, seeing it from different perspectives in order to gain a higher understanding and also being able to communicate it better. So this is learning more about your life's purpose and from a higher perspective. And the shadow is falling into that illusion or ignoring it, pretending it doesn't exist or pretending that you achieved it all when really, no, you haven't. So living the illusion that you know it all or that you can't learn has you missing the opportunity to gain new knowledge. On top of that, Mercury will be conjunct Neptune. So it's conjunct the North Node, then conjunct Neptune. Yeah, if you're looking at the graphic, because of how close those three are, you have to look at the hash marks. Let me circle that. Because this did come up as a question. You really have to look at where these hash marks are in the zodiac belt. The glyphs give you a sort of idea, but this is really showing you where they really are. And you can see that the glyph for the North Node, then the gray line for Mercury, and then the blue line for Neptune. So this is kind of really powerful conjunction. And this is learning to be present and open to spiritual communication, spiritual ideas, learning from spirit, receiving message from and being able to communicate lessons from spirit as well. Some people call it channeling or mediumship. I come from the Christian tradition, the Judeo-Christian tradition. This would be prophecy in a way. So be open to learning or communicating about spirituality and your spiritual practices, and be open to inspiration opportunities to connect with higher perspectives and even possibly share them. However, the shadow here, Neptune can be numbing yourself, denial, living in hype. And in Pisces, that's just amplified. And we said that Mercury can be that know-it-all or can't learn it all. So numbing yourself to higher knowledge can have you lost in a maze of hype. It may seem that something is being lost, except for you aren't aware of it. Mercury conjunct the North Node, conjunct Neptune. is a person who's being inspired about the higher purpose of their life. And in the shadow, tying it all together, is that self-styled guru who thinks he knows everything for everybody. And you can also be the false messiah. I'm going to call it that as well. And now for something completely different, to borrow the line from Monty Python. Um, on Saturday, the sun in Aquarius is squaring Jupiter in Taurus. Now for something really different. Squares are challenges, and the purpose of a square is to challenge you, to strengthen you. Sun in Aquarius, you're learning to be your authentic self. Jupiter in Taurus, the challenge here is to find opportunity for strength, peace, and stability. So I like to tell people when we're dealing with Taurus, read the story of Ferdinand the Bull, because that is really the lesson of Taurus. So the challenge here is to learn about who you are, become who you are, and the challenge is to find the opportunities for strength and stability in your life. So being authentic can be challenged by the opportunity to find peace. Know that they can work together to strengthen you. And look for the opportunities to discover how to define your values, your authentic values, even though it can be difficult. Working through it can be strengthening. So this is also learning about your values. The shadow here, the sun in Aquarius, can be that eccentric that's acting out, trying to get a reaction, or that dark star that's selling out, trying to fit in. The square here is crushing. And in Taurus, Jupiter in Taurus, it can be over or under confidence in your strength, in your stability. So you can be overconfident and think you're stronger than you are, or underconfident and doubting your own strength. So acting up or selling out can result in foolish activities and meaningless victories, and they bring no peace or stability with them. Know that all that glitters is not gold. And for some reason, this came up, and I just wrote it down. Sometimes it's broken glass. So yeah. Sunday, we have no transits, new transits happening. So we are working through the transits that are happening. Take a breath. Remember to exhale, repeat, focus on what's going on in your life at that moment. Do follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And those are companies that are making billions of dollars off of your data. I would you like to recommend Digital Soul Space, because it's run by Mighty Networks and your data is your data. They work to protect your privacy. And Digital Soul Space is a clearinghouse for many different spiritual practices, not just astrology. There are people who do crystals, tarot, and wide variety of oracle decks, and many different spiritual traditions, Native American, Celtic, Wicca, you name it. So it's kind of, I call it a spiritual safe haven. And we have 4 moderators now that do a wonderful job of keeping it safe. Site reminder, readings and packages. This reading probably has gone on long enough, and I'm really exhausted and want to post this. So if you do go to the main page, the first set of keys that I offer you are those individual readings. They are the birth chart, which is your life contract, and the karmic chart, which can be a past life reading or a special lesson you came here to learn. If it's the past life reading, it's the archetype that is repeating this lifetime so that you can heal it. The second set of keys that I offer to you are the horoscopes, the weekly, monthly, yearly horoscopes, so you understand what the lessons are and what the important lessons are that you are facing. And yearly can start at any time. The quarterly is a 3-month block of time, and the monthly, I like to go new moon to new moon. And the way I do my readings is I make a recording and I send you a recording, share it with you, you watch it, you come up with your questions, and then when we're getting together, I'm answering your questions rather than you trying to interject, and we're trying to cram everything in into an hour and a half, which never works. Somebody feels shorted. This receiving the recording and then that hour follow-up really hour to hour and a half follow-up, depending on the reading, really does work well. And I do consultations from 15 minutes to an hour and a half where you can just ask me straight astrological questions. Those are the digital office hours. Usually almost every night, 7 to 10. If I'm there, you can shoot me an email, and we'll just go into Zoom from there. And I do offer packages as well. Packages combine the readings together and have a 10% discount built right in. Do sign up for the newsletter. You see the subscribe button in the upper right hand corner. All I need is the email address. Once a week, you get an email from me, that's where you also give the discounts, etc. Blog post is where I do my deeper readings. And if you want to do appointments, services is where you order the readings, and then if you want to do the packages, you do that under scheduling, because I do like to sit down and talk with you about how you're going to receive the reading and how we set it up. So do like, follow, and share. Share if you do like this. Do remember to sign up for the newsletter, and thank you very much for bearing with me. Like I said, this new job I'm working I'm back in education, and it's a little exhausting. But I'll get back in the rhythm, and things will be better. So in the visible sky, your life changes. In the visible life, your sky changes. Spoonerisms, yay. So in the visible sky, your life changes. Thank you very much. Have yourself the best week possible. And thank you. And no, we're not.